So any questions about the HDF related?
Yes, I do have a question about file format spec version 3. I still don't understand what the problem, why the version that was posted cannot be restored.
Okay, as you know, I can't really talk to this, but it came up in the engineering meeting today, Elena. Shortly, the latest link will refer to it. Did you see the forum post? Someone saw it posted on GitHub and the forum.
Yes, but I still didn't get it. So, and I don't need explanation. I just have a request. Please restore the documentation that was already available, even it's not in format you plan to, but it's documentation that is important.
Yeah.
Version 1 and 2 are not as important as the current one that contains kind of all information from previous versions.
Yes, yep, we definitely will. It'll be restored. I think Alan says it's in develop and we're going to make a switch so that that latest URL that I just posted on the forum like at 11 o'clock today.
I'm afraid in develop there's a version that was already modified for develop branch and it doesn't reflect maintenance releases. So be careful, but that's it. So I just want to alert you.
Okay.
I think the develop version is correct. It's not modified.
I'll mention it to Alan so he can just take a look to double check.
Sure.
Quincy, you told me that it was modified, that we were using old version when we used version 3, when you reviewed sparse editions. That's the only how I know. It was information from you.
Well, I think I meant that the public version was, you know, and this problem existed at that time, that the public version wasn't coming up as the latest version. And that was only in develop. And that was version 3. So I don't think it's been changed since.
Okay, good question, because version 3 was available and it was version 3, but they will figure it out. So request, they got the request.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, Alexander.
Yes, so today I will talk about building HDF5 library and the HDF5 plugins, the filter plugins, in a conda virtual environment using CMake presets. And in the past few months, I've taken interest in the HDF5 filter plugins in general because I think that availability of these various advanced filter plugins is really something that wider HDF5 community is missing. It's currently essentially left to whatever community enthusiasts are willing to essentially provide for whatever audience they're willing to provide to. And I think that fragmentation is really serving no one well. And so, and here we are, the HDF Group has this HDF5 plugins repo that essentially, again, serves HDF5's mostly internal processes. And I thought, well, you know, let's see if we can do something else. So because of that, I entertained and played around how can I build the HDF5 library with these filter plugins. What are the best ways and what are the simple instructions how we can give to people how to do it if they want to. There's a lot of information how to install the library with CMake, and there is even more information how to install filter plugins with CMake, but I don't think it's written at the level of kind of people that I think should benefit from or be target audience. I think it's still very much for a person who sleeps and eats CMake at least 24/7. And so that's why this today's talk maybe goes a little in that direction. So back in September, I actually wrote a blog that kind of we are building upon. And it talked about building HDF5 library and H5Pi in a conda virtual environment. So essentially, we are starting from there. In other words, we have a conda virtual environment and we actually have this packages installed in that environment, which are crucial for building both the library and the filter plugins. And so we pick up from there. And So what are CMake presets? So, but this is the new thing. Where I was giving this, when I wrote this blog, it was a more of a standard approach. You have CMake command, and then you like here you drop a lot of these kind of CMake variables on the command line, where you pick and choose what you want from the HDF5 library features to be built. Recently, I don't know exactly when, but definitely in the development branch of the HDF5 library, we introduced this new method which uses CMake presets. And CMake presets are explained here in the CMake documentation. They are essentially JSON documents, because nowadays everything is JSON, you know, and they allow one to define essentially pretty much the CMake command line for various stages of the CMake build process. So you have, maybe I should share another screen, but anyway, this is how this JSON looks like, for example, and I just want to show you that you can have comments, you can define which version of the JSON document this is, you can define minimum CMake version that you want to be used. But then again, you break into more and more detailed settings, and I'll share another screen here, one that maybe we'll use more. Yes, this one. So what you're looking here essentially is the CMake preset JSON from the HDF5 library development branch. And beyond specifying the version of the JSON format, and which here we didn't specify, for example, the required CMake version. You can also have, for example, include other JSONs, so they can have a bit more, how should I say, sophisticated approach to things. But basically, each of these JSONs have these configure presets, build presets, test presets, package presets, and workflow presets. And within them, you have various types of presets. And there's a name. You'd say whether or not it's hidden. That means CMake will list it or not on the command line when you tell CMake, give me the presets. This one is hidden, which means that it's probably a building block, not sort of the final one that should be used. You can specify inheritance, so they can inherit from other presets, so you can slowly build sort of your pyramid of settings and configurations. And then specifically, you can set CMake variables in this preset. And this comes straight from the, as I said, HDF5 library development branch. And they're very useful. Essentially, when I was figuring out what should I use to build a library with filter plugins, I was basically scanning these presets and looking for the one that kind of had inherited from all the right presets, and then had the actual settings, which one would work for me best. And I'll show you the name of that one that I found. But as you can see there, I like it. I think that they can save a lot of time. They can prevent CMake command being too long or too complicated for people. Now you just provide them with JSON, and I think it's much more usable. And specifically, ability to inherit from other presets really allows one to build, sort of starts with granular approach, and then just build more and more sophisticated presets. Obviously, when you have so many inheritance, the question becomes which preset inherits from where, and what are the final settings of my presets. And currently, there is no way to plot them to show like, okay, this one inherit. You don't have like a UML diagram of all these presets. But I think that would be an interesting command, sort of tool to create, because it would help visualize to people which presets are, the inheritance pyramid, if you will. So that is the CMake preset that comes with the library. Every user like me, for example, can create their own set of presets, and there is a special file that you can store them, which calls CMake user presets.json. The default one is CMake presets.json. This one is CMake user presets.json. And as you can see here, I basically copied this one, throughout a lot of stuff because I didn't need. And I inherited from this CMake preset that we just looked. And then I just created my own for my laptop, which is macOS. And I choose to inherit from the other preset that actually contains the right configuration that I needed. And then on top of that, I set some other cache variables that I wanted to be set. And this is primarily because some of these presets are still geared towards companies' internal CI actions. So I don't think they're just a little bit more miss for the general user, I would say. So I essentially kind of had to go and see in these presets and turn off things that I didn't want, rather than turn on things that I wanted. But as I say, it was much, much easier and cleaner for me to do. And so now I obviously, when you run this CMake command, I'll show you because I'm using Visual Studio Code, I have this task.json, which is another JSON that I run my commands, but here it is. Essentially, this is the command line option for the CMake command that I, for example, use for this particular run. So you just say preset, and then you give the name of the preset. And we can now look for this preset in this file, and we can see what it has. So what is this? macOS. There you go. So this is the actual preset that I'm using. And as you can see, he's already inheriting from 4 other presets. And this is what would be a standard build using this preset. For example, I didn't want to have CPP and Java, so I had to turn them off via the command line options. But as I said, this is again geared towards our CI actions. So it had to be, I think it would benefit being still a little bit more granular for the general public, because not everyone wants to, for example, build with CPP or C++ or Java interface. And so I hope this is generally explanation of this CMake preset thing. If there are any questions, ask. If not, I shall continue. I find it very useful, actually. I really liked it. I think that it will really help people don't worry about chasing all these CMake variables that you need to turn on and off on the command line, unless really something specific you want to tag. But I definitely saves a lot of time.
Yeah, but you, sorry, I still don't know how to raise the hand, if you can see me.
Just talk, it's okay.
Okay, so first of all, it looks nice and clean. My biggest concern is that first you need to learn all this new system and then chase all other presets. And I see that probably CI stands for continuous integration, and how it's different from just user settings. So will HDF Group provide some standard presets that will be included that I do not need to worry? And I really like that I can just turn off some options and not worry about anything else, because there are too many now. How users will deal with it? You really have a lot of knowledge here.
No, you're right. So my feedback was to the person who created them was that CI, again, it's very narrow. Or again, it may be CI that is done for our testing, but I think, as you say, there should be some presets that are really think about users rather than our own internal CI operations. So I think that that's something to discuss. My input to that person was exactly the same as yours. That this is great for our CI, but that's not the end of everything. And so we need to think, for the real users out there.
And how do I find, Aleksandar, what are important settings are with which I'm compiling? What are the flags? For example, I want all numbers be a real 8. Where should I go now? In config, I knew where to go, but now where?
So the way how the presets are named, you have even this file here. So the names are, let me see, where is this? Open file on the cursor. So, so you could basically go here and you see they're kind of structured by the platform. Then they're also structured by the compiler, then also structured by the release or debug option. And then it's not easy. That's why I said it would be very useful if there is a tool that can plot them and show you effectively which one inherits from what, and what are these cache variable things that are set for each preset, so that person gets some idea what is available. But yes, it is mostly meant to be someone tells you this is the preset you want to use, kind of thing, and then you just kind of use it rather than.
Well, first you asked me to believe that everything is correct, and you're providing the compiler settings that are good to me, and I don't believe in it. So maybe it's done through documentation, but untangling all this is really not will not be easy. While I should admit, it's very nice and clean system in terms of hierarchy and inclusion, but I don't know how user friendly it is. It's definitely developers friendly, but user friendly. Yeah. But thank you. It's good to know. Mm-hmm.
No, I think it's a fair question. I can tell you that when we say user, there's a whole gamut of users that we're talking about. So for you as a user, it's definitely not going to be satisfactory because you want absolute control over the most minute settings.
Well, I just want to check what is included. You know, how do I?
No, I know. I think that maybe, and I haven't looked at it, I think that when I was reading documentation for here, there was some way that you can ask CMake to sort of tell you what are the final settings for the presets that you are using. But I cannot find right now because I forgot exactly which document it was. But when I was looking about this, I think I spotted some place where they say the CMake can tell you these are the final settings of all these, of the preset you called. These are all the settings that actually are being done.
And maybe it's verbose mode when I will build with CMake, but where do I change those settings, like compiler flags?
You would create your CMake. Well, first of all, you can always use command line options like before on CMake, because they have precedence over everything else. If you don't want command line options to use, then you can create your own CMake user preset JSON. Like here, for example, I inheriting from these things, but then I found out that I didn't want to build documentation or examples or something else, and I just turned them off. Sorry, that would, for example, replace me putting these things on the command line. So instead of essentially having a command line, I put those things here, and that's effectively the same as putting them on the command line with the same settings.
Those are HDF5 settings. I'm talking about compiler settings and different linking flags, you know, that you want to sometimes to control.
Well, wherever they would go in the CMake variable, the CMake variable that you would alter. I don't know, for example, which one is that right now.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else? Okay, we can proceed.
Not about the filters, but is tangential to them.
Okay. Yeah. This?
What do you think? How can we help H5Pi dynamically load plugins like filters, but also like VFDs and vol connectors?
For the filter plugins, well, H5Pi, there is a Python package called HDF5 plugin that essentially was a community effort that provides these filter plugins.
What if I had a new one that wasn't there?
Yeah, well, you're raising good questions. my goal here and why I wanted to do is because I didn't want to have, you know, these filter plugins available as a Python package and I'm Julia user or R user or something left and right. I wanted this to be built as a, you know, together with the library or at least as another package tied to a library, regardless of Python or Julia or whatever. So as a result of this, my examination, we recognized that, and this is now in the development branch, maybe a couple of weeks ago, that now the library, once you tell it where you want to install the plugins when you're building them, and you're building the library with the plugins, then the library will immediately look into that directory to import the filter plugins. You don't need to actually set an environment variable like before to tell the library where the plugins are. Now, if you're building the library, I can show.
Well, I mean, I've got a pre-built library, I've got a pre-built version of H5Pi, and now I've got a new DLL with my plugin.
Okay. If you have a pre-built library and you have H5Pi, then the only option right now is to play with this environment variable. And I don't know, is it like HDF plugin path or HDF5 plugin path?
Right.
I think one of those things. Then you have to set it to that.
How do I make H5Pi recognize that, hey, there's this new thing?
But it should recognize.
It should recognize it because it doesn't know anything. That's the library thing, and the library will pick up on that environment variable, and it should work.
Right.
Well, right. If I want to, if I have a file that has the filter in it, you know, it's all below H5Pi. But what if I want to like use the new filter to create a new data set?
Okay.
You should be able, Quincy, by the API for this, right? So,
but I got to get the API through H5Pi.
Okay. So what you're talking about is actually the H5Pi awkwardness.
Well,
I think in their API,
no,
I'm trying to be diplomatic here.
Guys, they have low-level APIs through which you can set the filter. So you will follow C programming model and you will set it up, and it should work. If it does work,
But no one wants to program with C-level API in Python.
no, it's Python low-level APIs.
Yeah, I know, but it's still nobody wants to use it. I mean,
well,
it's like learning
it's
C.
not only about filters; it's about VFDs and vol connectors and any plugin. Right? Because in particular, I was working on a VFD and I eventually just abandoned it. And I made a branch of HDF5, the base library that included my custom VFD, because I got tired of trying to convince H5Pi where to go get a DLL. And how
You
to
have
talk to it.
high-level APIs, so it understands now more generic identifier. That's
why I eventually decided I didn't have enough time to do all that fun. And so I just am hard coding it.
I don't know for VFDs involves. I haven't looked at that, to be honest with you. So I don't know. But in general, the H5Pi interface for VFDs involves. I don't think it has been worked on as far as I know.
That was the fundamental issue. I mean, I can the paths work fine. I can make the DLL get located by the library, but it was a matter of like in my Python program being able to say, create a file using this new, unknown to it before VFD. And so there's this dynamic plugin capability that's not there in H5Pi currently.
Yeah, it could be. Could be. For the filter plugins, the only issue is, again, that the interface, when you specify which filter and whatnot, is still very old, created around the time when only zlib or deflate was the available filter. And, you know, so that in my opinion, that's the next step for me to try and see if it can be done something. But I'm first trying to figure out how we can make these filter plugins more available at the level of the library rather than specific programming language packages like in Python world. So that's one. For the VFD involved, I haven't looked at, but it may very well be that nothing is possible because, again, it's the mostly who are people who maintain H5Pi, they're not on that level or don't have need for that. And so I think it's kind of probably for
They-
us.
They have
try and change.
custom compression filter. Look at the documentation, and they tell you how to do it.
Well, right, but again, I'm thinking more about the VFDs.
VFDs, they probably also have it because I saw it that it was pretty straightforward. So for compression, definitely they provide 3, and there will be. But maybe we're off topic for Aleksandar here. So, but it's good to check.
This is we are improvising here, so no problem.
I'm looking through VFDs because VFDs were on a low-level interface.
Right, but you have to wrap some property list, H5P, set, FAPL, foobar that you don't know about, that the Python, the H5Py doesn't know about because it's a DLL.
No, it's definitely, in general, it has to be done simpler. Because again, it's one thing if you have the library and all that set up on a one computer system and everyone comes to that computer system to
Right.
do the thing. That's completely one use case. And you have other people who are on diverse platforms and they just cannot set up so nicely everything on their computer. And there has to be some easier way, something that's more closer to.
I would really like some nice way in H5Py to be able to say, yep, that's the DLL. I've put it in the environment variable. And now I want to just simply reference it somehow in my Python program through the H5Py interface so that I go use that VFD. And I gave up after a while. It was just like way too much hacking.
Right, and they have only predefined FAPL. But the thing is that there is improvement, right? That through configuration file you can configure any VFD wall or etc. We talk about it, right? And there was a grammar created, so hopefully we'll finish this work. And then you do not need to modify anything. You just have that file available, and then library will load whatever it needs to load. It's fine because
again, it was fine to find the VFD. The library could find it, but I couldn't talk to it through H5Py.
But you shouldn't be, because it will be replaced automatically in H5Py.
What do you mean replaced? I don't want it to be the default VFD. I want it to be available.
Okay. We need to.
It's just harder than that. You know, it's not an easy thing to solve through H5Py.
A little bit more broke in H5Py. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I thought I'd just bring it up with Aleksandar because it's hard to. We've got some very nice plugin mechanisms in HDF5, and there's no easy way to express that very dynamic set of stuff through Python, which is surprising because Python is a dynamic language, right? If we can just get it to be more dynamic.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's probably because in H5Py no one thought about all that. I think vols and those kind of things came along later than H5Py was.
Yeah, well,
this overall implementation of H5Py was done. So we have to see. I mean, we had a couple of other things we wanted to get in, and it never really got any traction. It was like multi-read and write capability.
For filters, I could, use that as an example and go for it, but it still was quite difficult. So I eventually just building custom versions of both the HDF5 library and H5Py that have my VFD hard coded into them as an option, and that people could choose. It's not the default, because I couldn't, in a couple of days of hacking, make it work out. So I don't know. Maybe I'll start an issue on the GitHub page. I don't know if it's sensible for. Should I throw it on H5Py or should I put it in HDF5?
No, H5Py.
H5Py community has, if you need the feature, create it, contribute, they will review, accept or not accept. No one will do it. So if you need, you can contribute. This is open source project.
One though thing to remember, just because I was also talking recently about it, H5Py still enforces 110 API interface when it is built with the HDF5 library. That's hard coded.
Yeah. Who do you think is the best person to like talk to about
Thomas
architecture?
Thomas Kluge.
No, he's not anymore active. So,
He's
I
not.
tried to contact him, and
I mean, they are
he's
active,
not
but
been
there is
super
no.
responsive. Do you-
I think that it's
Thomas
not.
Caswell?
No, I would create an HDF5 issue, and you know, they respond not immediately, but they will respond to it. You can tag them if you want, you know, so then the issue to maybe provoke more quicker response. But
Alexander, in your opinion, which person would be best to try pinging with email?
I don't know their email, but if you know, probably this Thomas Kluiver, maybe he's.
Yeah, I did try him, and he's just been very, very laggy. Like it takes a month to get a reply.
Because he before he was funded with some percentage of his time to actually maintain HDF5.
Right.
And now he's came to his, you know, own hobby time.
Sure.
And I think that's probably one of the main reason.
Yeah. Maybe second person you would suggest?
I don't know though. There's another Thomas, but I don't know his name. He's a
Thomas Caswell.
Yes,
Oh.
yes, definitely.
He was funded to that Brookhaven lab.
Yeah. Okay.
And I can give you his email address.
I haven't. I just was kind of trying Thomas Kluger first, and then I was trying to look for the next person.
I mean, I have merged privileges to HDF5. I'm just not choosing to exercise them because I don't want to impose that the HDF group is, you know, micromanaging a community project. But you know, I always refrain from myself merging things. I always leave to others to merge.
Okay.
But many years ago, I was given, you know, I can merge things and all that. But as I say, I feel that it's a community thing. HDF group employees should not have so much. But we can maybe change, maybe, you know. So coming back to whatever we were talking before. Anyway, I built my my HDF5 library. The only thing, as I said, is that I told during my build that this is where my plugins are going to be stored. And this is now, when you say it like this, the library will immediately look into this directory. So before, you had to, even if you said where you want to install the plugins, you had to change the environment variable for library to actually see this folder. And in the development recently, we made a change so that if this is now specified during the build process, the library will look into this folder by default. No need to play with environment variable like before. And I did so. I built the library and its plugins using this preset that I said here, which is this one. The only thing that I had to really change, that I turned off a bunch of things, but the one that I really wanted, and it's probably going to become a default in the library, we're going to use zlib-ng version of the zlib library because it's more modern code and it's faster than the standard zlib. And so I'm pushing hard that this becomes the standard zlib that we actually ship the library with instead of the traditional old zlib. But this is what I wanted, zlib-ng actually, and I built it. And then, if you all can see it, I will first. I have some commands here that I want to use. So this is how I'm actually activating my conda environment. Now I'm within this environment where the library and everything is installed. And then just to show how it works, let's say we want to try any of these filters that now comes in the HDF5 repo plugin. I found an example file that that has a data set compressed with, in this case, BLOSK2. filter. And now I can immediately run it without any, as I said, oops, was that I delete this? Did I delete it or not? Maybe I deleted it. If I deleted it, then I have to, oh, no, sorry, I forgot this. I forgot this. So, so you can see now, if before I had to change the environment variable in order to library to find this plugin and therefore able to, you know, show the data from this compressed data set. But with this improvement now, as soon as I build a library with this filter plugin and I told where my plugin is going to be installed, the library immediately went there, loaded up the plugins, and it's now working as it should. And you can see now, obviously, there's a lot of data. Hopefully, we'll see. Oh, there you go. So you can see now that we have filters, user defined. There's the filter ID, the blurb that says which one, and now we have this basically filter plugin or filter settings spilled like this. And okay, we can now place with a bunch of others, let's say bit like a bit shuffle as well. That works, but now you get the point. I mean, everything works from the get-go, and that's pretty much what I want to show you. I didn't want to show how the library is built and tests and everything because it takes time. We spent it on more productive discussions, but yeah, I mean, I'm personally very happy with this preset. It helped me to go where I wanted much faster than reading install CMake and then slowly building all the settings from that long document. And I'm now trying to see a way and to find a venue and the ways how we can make these filter plugins more readily available wherever people get their HDF5 library. And again, the goal is to really make possible that people use these more advanced compression methods and make those chunks even smaller. And one of the drivers for me is because in cloud optimized HDF5, you really kind of want to have chunks at sort of megabyte or more, 2 megabytes size. And so getting them smaller helps also to feed them more into file pages, which is another feature of cloud optimized HDF5 files. And so everything sort of is trying to come together. So that's what I plan to talk about. Any questions? I think we covered them more, but maybe there is more.
Are you sure that compression worked because you see one-to-one compression? Or
These are the example files created during testing of the HDF5 library or plugins. So I'm not sure that these are the real bit shuffle HDF5 compressed data sets for some work. But what I wanted to show is that the plugins work, because if I didn't have all this done before, you would not be seeing the data printed out. It would just say, there is no way, I cannot read the data.
well, I would see the data if it's not compressed. It still can say filter, but if data was not compressed and filter was not applied, so it's, yeah.
I was trying these files before, before when the library had to be told by an environment variable where the plugins are, and it didn't work. Okay. It didn't show me the data set.
Okay, but let me ask you, because conda, like sometimes I download conda, downloaded in the past, the whole package, right? So binary package, do conda people now know that they can use this to build with plugins, or how it will affect binaries that conda distribute? Because
yes, so I did reach out to conda maintainers of HDF5 library package. So there are two issues. One, that they're struggling to build even the library. And so that's one challenge for them. The other challenge is because of those problems, they consider building filter plugins yet another problem that they will have to fight. And so they're not big fan of having filter plugins with the HDF5 library included. But again, I think if we find a way to help them with the library, that maybe they will warm up to filter plugins as well. But this is another community where I think our involvement may be needed because, again, that's my perception. First of all, you don't have that many people who want to think about building stuff like our library. They have other jobs to do and other areas of interest. So, they're not professional package builders of C and C++ applications. The other thing is also, it seems that the conda build system or conda build environment that they are using for all conda packages seems to be more relying on cross compilation. And that seems to be an issue for our library, that a lot of configuration steps where library figures out the byte sizes of things and everything else, they're failing. And so that, although in our GitHub actions, all of these tests and all these platforms work no problem, for the conda build environment, that seems to be a challenge for them. So yes, so there is some work to be done, I think, to make these plugins available in conda. That's my goal, because again, the people that I usually interact with out, the user community, they all go to conda forge. They don't download our binary package. And so it is almost, in my opinion, kind of a must for us to go there and see what we can do and help them.
Right. But if it works, are we so as I recall, for cross compilation, there were just preset files with all settings, right? To compile. So maybe, is it really a problem that cannot be solved for them? Or do you know what exactly they're struggling with? Maybe they're missing something.
Well, they first also now need to move to CMake. So that's one. And number two, it seems like they have a bunch of HDF5 library tests failing. So they're trying to patch them on the fly with some versions that can pass in the conda build system. It seems that, again, what they're trying to patch them with or try to set up something are these, as I said, configuration type information that for some reason the CMake config process doesn't pick up. So yes, I mean, again, this is very early, less than a month that I reached out to them. I think that will have to be some kind of meeting that we better understand what they need and everything else. But to me, bigger issue is that we're kind of very constrained of making these generous community outreach efforts. In one way, we depend more and more on those places where people get our software. But on the other hand, we have almost no funding that supports that. Right. And so those two things need to be somehow balanced, but it's work in progress.
So conda is using GNU auto tools, or what they're using?
They use whatever. I mean, you basically install what you want, and they used auto tools before, and now they're shifting to CMake. Again, I only inquired about this, and then I learned about these kind of issues. And I cannot tell you more because we haven't really talked more directly about what are the, mostly as I see it, the conda build system is kind of not really even on par with GitHub Actions. Like the runners you are getting, they seem to have a bit more managed system, if I can describe it like that, where procuring the runners, and it seems they're slow, they can be timeouts, they can be again, let's say cross compilation seems to be a very much how they go about when they build various flavors of HDF5 for various platforms and whatnot. So there's a lot to unpack there, and I have not really initiated any official discussion because I don't want to I don't want to implicate the company into false expectations without having some idea if this is possible to happen or not.
Mhm.
And that's basically all I have. I don't know if there are any more questions or someone wants to. Dan, do you have any questions? Was this clear enough?
Yeah, it's fine. Thank you.
All right. All right. So we'll give thumbs up then.
All right,
Oh, yeah,
thank you.
thank it was good learning something new. Thank you.
All right.
Cool. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, people. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.